So as here, we have the 1979 Scout again. We have some clearance issues on the LS fitting. So what we're gonna do is we got the original kind of valve cover notches that are for the Scout. We're gonna extend those down 2 inches and back up, as well as cut down the 1/2 inch or the 1.5 inch trans tunnel flange. We're gonna cut this down so we can not be hitting and riding on the temp sen adapter, as well as the coil pack wire to the spark plug. On the driver's side, a little better clearance, but the body does have to move forward still about 1/4 to 1/2 inch. So down here, we're gonna modify the same thing. We got the valve cover relief for the factory Scout. We'll extend that down to the bottom of the exhaust manifold here, so you can actually access the bolt. And that will be basically modified on the inside firewall here. So this will just come down to about the trans tunnel and back up. So this depth here is about 1 inch. So that will get us our clearance we need. And it shouldn't mess with the interior that much. The underside, which is this, is all undercoated, but we'll be modifying the firewall before we get to paint. After that's done, we'll move to prepping the interior with sound deadener. I've picked up some 3M sound deadener that will be laid on the floor all the way down, as well as the floor pans and the firewall. And then we'll have some more underlay coating and possibly a layer of paint on the interior. Here we have the exhaust mount brackets I've picked up, the clamps to hold them on, as well as some 90-degree bends to finish up the exhaust. Today I picked up some 2.5 inch 50 series Flowmasters. Okay, so we got some holes welded up on the firewall, as well as they've been spot primed with epoxy primer. We have the inner box sides there, so all along this top edge has been bodyworked to be a bit more smooth, as there was a weld there. I threw some primer on top. Any bare metal spots have been primed, as well as this side has been bodyworked along the top rails and then primed. Down here we have the exhaust has been put on. We have these 45 tips that are movable still. They just need to be clamped in place, as well as I ordered up an actual stainless tip. We have the Flowmaster muffler on here with the rubber exhaust mounts mounted in the same spot as before. Going to the front here, we got 2 90-degree bends that have been welded in place, as well as a straight. Then I have an exhaust clamp that goes to another 90 that goes up to the header. So those have been welded up and clamped in place. We are just waiting for some exhaust tips and then it'll look all fine. So over on the driver's side as well now, I have the piece coming off the exhaust manifold welded up down to exhaust clamp, 2 90s welded together into the muffler here, again on exhaust hangers, and just need to be fully clamped in place with a 45-degree angle on it, which makes out the exhaust come out about same spot as before. Right now it's kind of at the rear door jamb, where we can easily extend this to come out right in front of the tire. Just kind of minor fine-tuning stuff, but for now the exhaust is complete and we can actually run up the motor with the exhaust how it's set up now and whatnot. So next stages will be to sound deaden the interior here. we'll be throwing some sound deadener on the floor pans, the trans tunnel, the rear bed floor, as well as the wheel wells, and then be undercoating top to bottom and installing the heat shield on the inside of the firewall. And then we'll be able to move on to installing the dash after it's back from the paint shop. Okay, so taking a look at the Scout today, test fitting the brake pedal and master cylinder. Getting ready to test fit the front fenders again and to prep for bodywork. So the master cylinder for the clutch needed a light bracket welded onto the firewall so we can get that mounted on the outside. On the inside, I was able to mount it to the factory swing arm that goes through to the clutch pedal. Clutch pedal did have to get cut off up here and kind of spin the pivot point for this to line up correctly. And then the clutch pedal got welded back on the same distance as the brake pedal. I'm just working on a bracket to go from here, little 45-degree bend that will hold the electronic LS pedal. So we have the bracket here, template, 2 factory mounting holes, little 45-degree bend, another 2 holes for this pedal to mount on. So that'll be getting bent up shortly, and then we'll be able to mount the pedal back in here. And then take a look at getting the clutch slave cylinder flex line made so it can get hooked to the master cylinder on the trans, or the slave cylinder on the trans. And then I'll be able to paint the firewall finally and get to that. So that's what we got going on the 1979 Scout. A few hours of getting this motor swap done. Okay, so the two doors have been pretty aggressively bodyworked, feathered into the replacement panel on the bottom. This other door, a couple minor touch-ups, as well as feathered into the bottom half. The dark green is the unsanded body filler. A little bit of Bondo around where the mirrors were, as there's been two style mirrors welded up. Over here, final little welding on the clutch bracket or clutch master mount was all finished up. And then a couple holes that we shaved, the original fuse box, an extra hole that was on the firewall, and then a couple other holes. They've been bounded up after a patches weld nod just to make them smooth, and they'll get a spot prime. On the left side here, we got a new hole. This is a 6-inch diameter hole for the so-called cold air intake. So the intake piping comes off the motor here. So it's been fit 90 degree up and over the AC and straight out to the side here. The Canon air filter sticks out to about here, and assuming that the fitment's all correct, it shouldn't hit the outer fender when it's installed. As well, the gas pedal bracket has been fabricated up. So the pedal's mounted, and then there's the other two bolt holes. It's basically got a little bit of a bend going on here and a couple bolts. So this will be getting mounted back onto the firewall right here, and has the gas pedal in line with the little gas pedal hump we got down here. And clutch pedal and everything else is going back in after the firewall is painted. So next we'll be painting the inner fenders here. They just need a little bit of body work, and then they'll be getting a black primer and a coat of black paint. Oh, before I forget, also the door pins have been replaced. So this door got both door pins put in. They've been drilled out and a new pin put in. Brass bushings put into the original arm as well here. A new pin after drilling out the old one, and new brass bushings inside here. So they are nice and tight. Ordered up one more set of bushings for this hinge here, as it seems to be a little bit loose. And you can see this pin moves, and this side doesn't move when you move this. So basically the pin is snapped off like the other two right in here. So the pin's rusted into the main shaft, which causes this side not to spin. And then this side is spinning because that's where the lock is. The upper hinge seems to be in good condition. The top is spinning and the bottom is spinning too. So this is one hinge that's in good shape still. No little wobble at all. So we'll be rolling with that and replacing the other one pin. Anyways, so that's a few more hours put into some body work and the door pins. Next stage would be to get the doors in a light coat of primer and get them mounted on the body here. I'm hoping to get the firewall painted and the inners painted, so I can then mount the front fenders to get body work on there. And then we'll be looking to get the windshield surround, finish up the minor metal fab on it and bodywork, and then get the hood assembled, as well as the tailgate.